All right, welcome back to another video. And this is gonna be, again, quite different than my usual videos. This is not a tutorial, absolutely not. This is me sharing how I am healing from chronic illness, more specifically long COVID. Disclaimer, first off, I am not an expert. I am not a doctor. I am not a therapist or anything like that. I'm just a guy. I'm just an artist, and I'm just sharing my very personal experience. I am not telling you to do anything. I'm not telling you to take any medicine or drugs or anything like that. So this is just literally my own experience, and it's just that, and no more than that. So yeah, having said that, I made a video actually around a year ago where I shared my struggles with long COVID. So I'm not gonna go deep into the whole like what's it been like, because like you can watch that. The link is in the description, and you can hear me complain and cry about that like a year ago. I'm much better now. I would say I am in the process of healing, and I want to share how I am healing and what's been helping me over the last, especially year, mainly half a year. This is quite the unusual content, I guess, not just for my own channel, but generally. It's very intimate, it's very weird, and it's also kind of feels strange to share this, and some of it might be controversial or just straight up weird. I don't know. But I do want to share it because I think it can help some people, and I want to use my reach to, yeah, if I even just reach one person with this and can even just help one person, then I'm already happy. And otherwise, it's just, I don't know, me talking. So, yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. This is going to be a deep dive, this is going to be a long video. So, if you're interested, go deep into it. If not, then just stop watching. There's not going to be anything touch designer-ish about this. Let me begin by sharing this little thing here. So this is what I shared last time as well. It hasn't really changed. These are all the symptoms I had over time. So these are around 30 different symptoms. You can go through this. I'm going to share this whole sheet as well. But basically, yeah, so mainly it's been fatigue. Fatigue has basically always been a part of it and is still, if anything, the main thing I do struggle with. But all kinds of other shit, both physical, mental, and emotional. So all of it has been a part of it. You can go through this if you're interested, but mainly in this video, we want to focus on the healing part, like on the positive part. I am also sharing some resources here, so you can check that out, but let's have a look in here. So I kind of went all in on this and put a little list up of like 5 different categories of stuff that helped me. Yeah, we're gonna start with the biological one slash kind of medicine or supplements that I took. Then we're gonna look into somatic and nervous system. And I'm generally kind of convinced that this is mainly a nervous system issue, or like a dysregulated nervous system that I've been dealing with, or that long COVID patients are dealing with. Then there's the mental, emotional part, spiritual part, or mindset, and then there are drugs, mainly, or kind of solely psychedelics, that have actually also helped a lot. So we're gonna look into all of this. I'm not gonna go into detail into every single one, but I did say this is a deep dive, so it is. So basically, we've got the method, we got the impact, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, but not, it doesn't mean that it's not impacted me at all. If I've like these are not all the things that I tried. I've only put in the things that I know that helped, or at least I felt like they somewhat helped. So 1 is still some sort of impact, and then what did help with, and then the amount slash dosage, frequency, cost, and some possible side effects or notes. Yeah, let's start with the biological one, medicine. But I do want to preface like this, going further into this, like these are all supporting, like biological, somatic, and stuff, but the cure is mental and like emotional, and the cure is this Journalspeak technique. So you can jump forward to that on the chapters if you want to get right to the cure, basically. But I'm still gonna go through all of this. So the main important one here is low dose naltrexone. This has definitely by far had the most impact on my body. Low dose naltrexone is like a kind of experimental off-label drug that you actually have to get a prescription for. It is usually used for opiate addiction, to kind of get off opiates. I am not addicted to opiates. It's nothing to do with that for me. For me, actually, I like usually you take 50 milligrams or more. So that's the kind of capsules or like pills you can buy. I'm taking 0.5 milligrams. It's somewhere between 0.000 something, like people taking microdoses of this stuff, and it helps, up to maybe like 10 milligrams, which is kind of the normal range for what's considered low dose. You can find a lot of like info on this subreddit here, generally online, like do your own research. But like I remember, like I started taking this in January 25. And I remember the first night I took it, like actually the night wasn't that great, but when I woke up and make breakfast, I literally started crying because I felt so much better, which is quite unusual. This stuff usually takes quite a while to actually work on your body. For some people, it can take up to months. For me, it was pretty immediate. I did, like, that's kind of what you usually do. You experiment a lot with different dosages. And when you take it, maybe some people split it 2 times over the day. So there's a lot of different approaches, a lot of it in the subreddit. Now I'm just taking 0.5 milligrams every night. Do skip it sometimes, but pretty much I take it daily. And there are not that many side effects if you have the right dosage. So just in the beginning, I had some crazy dreams actually where I was vomiting a lot. It was really weird. Actually kind of like healing as well. When I took too much, like even just 1 or like 1.52 milligrams, I felt really, really shitty, like very bad, especially mentally, but on all levels, it was just no good. So you've got to find your right dosage, but don't be scared. This is one of the most promising medicines, I would say, that are out there for like chronic illness. So the next thing is ketamine therapy. So ketamine therapy is actually an official therapy that I paid a shit ton of money for. Basically, you have a place where you go to. I did it 7 times. So you've got an anesthetist and a psychotherapist, and you have these sessions first with the psychotherapist. Like you kind of work on your intentions, and then afterwards integration. And you actually go there. You get infusion of high dose ketamine every time, a bit more, and then you tripping for like 45 minutes or something, and then you go back home, and that's kind of it. And I'm not gonna go too deep into this, but it was basically K-honing 7 times, and it's one of the craziest things I've tried from all of these. But it was very, very helpful, especially with like depression and anxiety. I mean, usually ketamine therapy is actually mainly used for depression, so like mental issues. So it was again kind of like an experimental approach. But I'm very glad I did it, even though I wouldn't even say it had like a long-term effect. I mean, in a way it did, but like the immediate effects kind of lessened after a while. But it's still, I'm very glad I did it because it definitely had a huge impact on me. But so these are by far like the most impact. Then melatonin, I put it as pretty high impact just because it's been with me for a long time. I've had issues with insomnia, and generally falling asleep was very difficult for me for a long time. Now it's much better thanks to this. All of it is better thanks to this. So basically this just helps you fall asleep. I take usually 0.5 to 1 milligram every night. You really can't go wrong with that, I would say. Then there's CBD oil. I used to take that for like daily. Now I kind of stopped. I don't feel like I really need it right now, but it kind of improves sleep quality, helps with pain, anxiety, and like irritability. 5-HTP is also, I also took for quite a while. I'm not really taking it anymore. That basically is that if you take that, it turns into serotonin in your body, and then like, you know, serotonin being a neurotransmitter that generally helps with kind of like good mood and happiness and motivation and all of that stuff. I mean, motivation, I guess, is more dopamine, but anyways, it's kind of the happy neurotransmitter, you could say, very, very simply said. And then that actually turns into melatonin. So this also does help with sleep, and generally, like, it actually used to be an antidepressant in the 80s or something. Now it's just an over-the-counter kind of supplement. I usually took like 50 to 100 milligrams, and that also really helps. Magnesium, I still take every day. You can't go really wrong with that. It just helps with like fatigue and sleep and pain. Electrolytes being very close to, I mean, magnesium is part of electrolytes, but a lot of other stuff as well. I feel like that does help as well. I do take that once in a while, especially when I exerted myself quite a bit. Vitamin D, you can't go wrong, especially in Berlin or like, in the more northern hemisphere where you have very little sun for a long time of the year. So that you can't go wrong with that either. Probiotics, another thing that just kind of like, it just kind of makes sure that you have more of the right bacteria in your gut. Again, not something you can really do anything wrong with. And all these things here, I mean, they had maybe an impact, but I can't really say. I'm not really doing any of these. Sometimes I do take vitamin B12 because I'm pescatarian and I don't eat a lot of fish, so I do need this once in a while. I did do some fasting, like keto diet, but all of that didn't help actually much. I'm still glad I experienced it and tried it, but some people do have very positive experiences with fasting, even like intermittent fasting. So you can definitely look into that. It might be promising, but for me, it didn't really do much. So much about the biological / medicine part of it. As I said, this is important, but just to support. So we're gonna get to the healing part. But another very important part is the somatic or like nervous system aspect. And the main important player here with a huge impact on my life is meditation. Meditation I've been doing for over 10 years. The last 5 or 6 years at least, I've been doing it really like every day. So usually somewhere between 50 to 60 minutes, but mainly just like 30 minutes in the morning, because I often do wake up quite grumpily and then I meditate first thing 30 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, and then I'm good, or better at least. Now I'm good. During the sickness, it still helped, but not as much as now. I'm not going to go deep into it. I also have some resources here on like some guided meditations and some other stuff. But like I used to do just breath meditation solely. Now I do sort of what I would call non-dual meditation. Basically, I just exist. I don't really do anything. I'm just there, like kind of tuning into silence. It's so healing. It's so good. I would love everybody to meditate, but people don't want to listen to me anymore. But yeah, anyways, next thing, breathing. I mean, meditation, breathing is a big part of it, but actually a lot of it, like the way I meditate is not about controlling, but this kind of breathing is a controlled breathing. So there are all kinds of different ways of how you can do controlled breathing. This is my favorite method called 4-7-8. Basically, these numbers stand for like a counting. So you breathe in to the count of 4, you hold it to the count of 7, and you release it slowly through the mouth. So you actually breathe in through the nose and you hold it, and then you breathe it out to the count of 8 through your mouth, kind of like you're blowing like a hot food or something you're trying to cool, like so that is really, really like, it's kind of an instant fix for heart racing. So it actually like it can it can drop down your heart rate immediately. So I had these issues where I was like, my heart was like going super fast. And then if I do this breathing, maybe like 5 to 10 times, immediately it goes down. Like I could literally see it on my watch that I had for a while. And I also saw some videos of people actually like hooking up to like what's it called? That thing that measures your heart rate, basically. I don't know what it's called right now. It literally drops your heart rate. It just does that. And through that, it calms your nervous system. It can release stress and anxiety. And also because of that can help you sleep. So I do that all the time, actually. And then another thing I tried as acupuncture that really helped for a while as well. I also put that in here where I went to in Berlin. Really nice doctor. I did that maybe 20 times in total. Really, really helped. Even just having something to look forward to, some kind of like ritual in a way. Another thing similar is cranial sacral therapy. I did that less and it also helped a bit less, but especially with headaches, it really nicely helped. It was very comfortable. It's more like a very soft massage. I didn't really put massage here. I did that maybe 2 or 3 times, but it didn't really help that much with the sickness. Showers. I love showers. Just the best thing. And they like 98% of the time they were just really good. There's no yoga nidra. I just recently discovered that, or also called like, or part of it is non-sleep deep rest. I also put like a guided thing in here. I'm very amazed by how big of an impact it has on my nervous system. And when I feel very like tired and anxious, I do this now, and it just kind of like, I feel pretty reset afterwards, just like I'm alive again. There's grounding, earthing, which might seem a bit woo-woo, but it's actually very, very powerful. Basically, it's what you do when you touch grass, when you like touch a tree or anything that is connected to the earth directly. But you can also, and I got like an earth grounding mat in my bed and also as a mouse pad. So I'm literally always grounded when I'm on my computer and also when I'm sleeping. And I feel like that's really, really good, especially for like the immune system. I don't really get sick much anymore. And I do feel like that has an effect. Basically, it's like the way I got it is that it's electrons like kind of rushing through your body, through the ground, and kind of like docking on free radicals. So it kind of helps your immune system fight intruders. I think that's the best way I can put it. Daylight lamp I've been using for a long time. I meditate in front of it in the morning. It kind of helps me wake up, and I think it helps a bit with fatigue and depression. And apparently it also helps to create more, like to make your body produce more serotonin, which is generally always a good thing. Then workout is a bit of a difficult topic. I put a Qigong channel that I kind of like in here. Qigong generally was the thing that worked best because it's more soft, but generally I often went over my limits with this. Now it's really helpful also with fatigue and depression and stuff, or like feeling kind of uncomfortable in my body. So obviously, I mean, sports is good, but it's one of these things with long COVID where people say like, just go outside, meet people, do some sports, I'm gonna feel better. It's like, no, that's not how it works. So like strong bodily, like, physical exhaustion or like exertion was not very helpful. So this is something that, I mean, even though it has a very positive impact on the body, I still put it pretty low because it's kind of like, it can cause like PEM, so like post-exertional malaise, so you feel worse the day afterwards. It can cause these things as well. So you've got to take it with a grain of salt and like really know your limits if you're deep into it. And then these other two things, baths I really, really love, but they sometimes weren't that great for me when I was really sick. And then this is like, there's a lot of weird different ones. You can just look on YouTube or, ask your local AI or whatever for vagus nerve stimulation. There's a lot of different techniques, mostly really weird stuff. But mainly what I'm doing is humming. So like literally, kind of like I think that's probably why a lot of, meditating monks or whatever do this thing, because it actually stimulates your vagus nerve system. So it kind of like helps the connection of your body with your brain and like calms down your entire nervous system. So this is definitely something to look into if you feel like you have nervous system issues. So having said all of that, we're going to come to the actual core of what I want to talk about here, which is the mental emotional part of it. And before I get into into the healing part, I'm going to just quickly mention these. So I did psychotherapy for a while and I actually restarted it now. So it's kind of hard to say what kind of impact this had. I wouldn't say that it's really healed me. Still, generally a good thing to do, obviously. And also kind of, I'm hoping that this one therapy I started now is helping me more understand my patterns, really understand what's going on and where this is coming from. But I wouldn't say this particularly helped with really like healing my sickness. It even sometimes had the opposite effect, that I kind of felt gaslit by my therapist before. So let's see how it goes now. And the other thing is symptom tracking, which really, really helps, I think, to just have an overview of what's going on. And if you like sometimes think, it's always so bad, or it's just getting worse and worse, then maybe like through tracking, you can see like a graph and you can maybe see, okay, it's not actually getting worse, or, it can help with that kind of anxiety. Or I actually also started like on the 1st of January this year, like for every day, just on a scale from -3 to +3, or like in colors, to kind of determine or put in like how good was the day, to really get an overview. It's actually super interesting to have that. So that can help as well. And a really good app for that is Visible. Let's get to the juicy part, because yeah, all of these, as I said, are supporting, but the healing is happening here. So this is a technique developed by a woman called Nicole Sachs. And I put a lot of these links in here, so you can check that out. She's got a podcast that's called The Cure for Chronic Pain. And she's got a lot of episodes on basically healing chronic illness. So yeah, this is the woman. And it might at first kind of seem like, this is just another life coach and this woo esoteric bullshit, but really it's absolutely not. I am convinced this is like how I am healing. And I'm very, very grateful for her work. So she's been doing this podcast, I think, for 5 years, basically releasing a new episode every week. So there's a lot of stuff in there, but I do have the podcast in here and also some episodes I find particularly good. I would just recommend you start with the very first ones and just kind of then go through all the ones and pick whatever talks to you or kind of search for topics that interest you. She's also got a website called Break Awake and like a book as well. It's called Mind Your Body that I actually haven't read. But if you don't want to listen to the podcast and want to have an in-depth overview, I think this is a really good resource as well. Basically, what it's about, she's talking about this whole mind-body approach. She's talking about a lot about like the background of it, like the sort of brain science behind it, and like the mindset that you should have. And a lot of it is about like around the whole thing, but really like the core of it is what she developed is called Journalspeak. And that is a certain type of journaling or writing that I will kind of explain now. So what she's saying is basically in the beginning, you write down 3 lists. One list with all the relevant things that kind of bothered you, or like topics or like experiences on all these things that were that happened in your childhood and your like, you know, teenage, like basically just in your past. Then all the stuff that's currently relevant, like all the topics that are like on your mind right now, mainly obviously like things that kind of bother you, that are like dragging you down, but also like everything can be important. And then let me show my face again for this. So then the third list is your personality traits. So maybe like you're perfectionist, you're a people pleaser, whatever personality traits you might have. And then basically the practice itself is that you sit down every day. It's important that you do this every day whenever you find time. And she says 20 minutes, you sit down and you pick one of these topics and you write your heart out. Like you write everything you can about this without stopping. You just write and write and write. And then you delete it. I mean, you can write with your hand, you can write on paper, and then just kind of, I don't know, burn it or throw it, whatever. But I just write on my computer because I can write way faster, and that's important actually for me. Or on my phone when I'm like just in a train or something. So anytime anything comes up, I write. And I personally write somewhere between 10 minutes a day and sometimes more than 3 hours. So especially in the beginning when I noticed like, oh my God, this works and there's so much in there that has to come out. Sometimes I wrote maybe even 4 hours a day. Like you don't have to go that extreme. For me, it just felt amazing a lot of the time. The thing is, it's not a journal in the way that you write, oh, this happened today, and you know, like I don't seeing these people, I worked on this. So it's not a journal in that way. It's not a diary, you know. It's more about like you give your pain a voice, like you cry your heart out, like the deepest fears and hatred and anger and all of these really, really deep and dark emotions you let out. So this is really about feeling the feelings and thinking the thoughts that you think you're not allowed to feel or think. So basically, we've all been told like how to behave and how to feel, basically what to say, and we've all suppressed things. Basically, the notion that she has, or the concept behind this, is that we have an emotional reservoir. You can think of it like a box. We all have that. And then over time, we just kind of fill that up with emotions, you know, like when we're a child, that's pretty much empty. And then it just kind of fills up over time more and more and more. And at some point, it's going to be so filled up, if you don't ever empty it, that it's going to kind of flow over. And once it flows over, it's going to sort of materialize in your body. And what's very important here is that these symptoms that are then going to show up and are going to be more and more in your body, these are not just like, you're not imagining them, they're not in your head, you know, like they're real symptoms. You're actually feeling the pain, the fatigue, the nausea, the dizziness, the whatever the hell your symptoms are. You know, they're like over 200 different symptoms under that umbrella term long COVID or CFS, you know, chronic fatigue syndrome. So it can be anything. There's a huge variety of symptoms that you might experience, but it doesn't really matter in the end what it is. It's not even about the symptoms. It's not about like changing your diet or doing this or that to change the symptoms themselves, but it's going back to the root, which is emotional trauma. And some people might now react in the way like, oh no, this shit again, you know, like this mind-body stuff is all just woo-woo esoteric bullshit. But it is absolutely not. Like for me, I can see on my own body, and I can see it even on the symptom tracking that I do, how much of an impact this has. So this is the cure for me. This is the truth for me. Like writing out, and not just writing, the thing is, like, when you do this work, you actually re-experience these feelings. So it's a lot of very intense feelings and a lot of crying. I haven't cried. I never cried in my life so much as I did in the last half a year, but it's the best kind of releasing kind of crying that you can have, because it's like you already feel like, yeah, this needs to get out, And sometimes it's been crazy for me, like how intense these emotions are, what triggered them, the kind of topics I suddenly like came up, and people and experiences that I hadn't even thought about or haven't even considered as a problem. I'm not going to go into details because all of this stuff is already quite intimate. Yeah, I just really, I can highly recommend it, because I also, like, she's way better in explaining what this is all about and obviously going way deeper into it. I can just highly recommend, if you even just have anxiety or depression, but especially if you have any kind of chronic illness or chronic pain, please give this a listen. Like, I am convinced this is healing me. And she's also, like, in that podcast, she's interviewing hundreds of people, and they're all like, they have also long COVID, but all kinds of issues like chronic pain and whatever, and they're all like either getting better or even are completely healed now. So I'm like this is not bullshit, this is the truth. It's hard work. It's actually hard work. And you have to sort of, and it sounds again like kind of a bit bullshit, but you have to believe in this work, and then it does work. It's worked on me, and I'm not just like, okay, I'm back to baseline as I was before. I'm literally better than I was ever before, because I've gone into that shadow thing. I've gone through all of this, these emotions, and I'm not saying I'm done. Like, I'm very much still in the process, and I don't think this process will ever end until I die. But I don't really have symptoms right now anymore. I mean, they sometimes come up, but the thing is that how this works, or how it's worked for me in the last, I started this like in last October, so like a bit over half a year ago. And so how this works for me is that I get worse and worse, then I write down and I write it out and I let it out. I experience the emotions. It might be crying, might be anger, just might be whatever the fuck. I let it out, and then the next day, or immediately sometimes, I feel way better. I feel better for some days, and it gets worse again. I might get really depressed, or like, I don't know, really fatigued, or I don't know, something really hurts and whatever. And then I write again, I find a new topic, and then I let that out, and then I feel a bit more better. So it's kind of like this, you go up and then you go down, and then you go a bit further up, and you like, kind of like that. It's literally obviously not as linear as that. And sometimes it's very frustrating, because I'm thinking, oh, I'm healed now, and then I get worse again. But I've really been seeing this pattern of like this up, and then, or like down. Actually, it goes down and then up and then down and then up, sort of like that, if that makes sense. But really, like, I don't know. In the end, like, please try it out yourself. Like, all of the other stuff, and you can see that it's a lot of stuff that I tried. I spent so much money on it. I spent probably like 6,000 or 7,000 euros in total on this sickness, and in the end, the cure for it, the really, like, that thing which is really healing me, it's free. It's like 100% free, always available. You can write anywhere at any time. Obviously, it's best if you just take your time and you're alone at home, and you can, because you don't want to just start crying in the train. But still, like, it can still like help. And anything that comes up now, I just have a tool where I can basically reflect on it and process it. Like, this is really like processing anything. It's absolutely amazing, and it's literally changed my life, and I'm not overselling it. It's just the best thing that's happened to me, and I feel like I'm a new person, because that's also what she's saying. You're literally rewiring your brain, and it does feel like that. Like, I can barely recognize myself now sometimes, which is a good thing, because I've been suffering for so long, and now I found a way not to suffer. Yeah, anyways, as I said, there's some resources on it here. Just get into the podcast. Even just in the beginning, listening to that podcast, that already had a big effect on me. So let me get into the last two categories here. I'm not really going to go deep into non-duality. This guy is called Adyashanti. Again, it looks very esoteric, but he's amazing. There's another guy called Rupert Spira. And both of them explain non-duality way better than I ever could, because actually non-duality is kind of like, it's not a philosophy, it's not even spirituality, I would say. It's sort of like a way of life, or a perspective on life, or like the truth. I don't know. No. I mean, in the end, it's about non-conceptualness, meaning that it's pretty much impossible to explain. But yeah, just like, I mean, I also mentioned that with meditation, I do kind of non-dual meditation. Basically, I'm just kind of relaxing back into being awareness, into pure awareness, into silence. And especially when you have a really, what feels like a completely broken body with a lot of pain, that really forced me to get deeper and deeper into this, and to let go more and more of that ego inside of me, of that kind of thing that always tries to control everything. So it's a deep understanding of reality, you could say. But really, like, get into the work of Adyashanti. I'm telling you, this has changed my life, and was really, really helpful with being sick as well. There are two other smaller things. So one thing, like the opposite of this, of the healing stories, before I get into that, is spending a lot of time on Reddit and on like long COVID forums, and generally CFS forums. I don't want to like throw shade on anybody, or, you know, like be mean to anybody, because I can see like these people are suffering, and I was suffering, and I was sometimes like that. But there's so much toxic negativity on there that I think, I mean, I spend way too much time on Reddit and on other forums trying to get information, and always hunting for the next supplement or medicine that, or whatever technique that would help me, which in itself is actually kind of not a great not a great thing to do. In the end, I'm glad I did it, because it did lead me to this Journalspeak thing. I mean, I was desperate, and so are most people there. But there's a lot of negativity there, a lot of suicidal people even. So it's like you're not really like doing anything good for yourself if you spend too much time on these platforms. So instead of doing that, I can really highly recommend watching healing stories, reading stories from people that have come out of this, seeing what helped them, how are they approaching it, what's their mindset. That's really, really helped with having like, even just hope and less anxiety, and a kind of motivation to keep going, because you can go to very, very, very dark places when you're in a chronic illness like this, and then hearing from other people that have come out of it and kind of having a hope can really, really help. Another thing that I've been doing for a long time is affirmations. I am very skeptical about this. A lot of it is very woo-woo bullshit, I would say. But I do still do it pretty much all the time with like meditation. Like at the end of meditation, just kind of like this also like, may I be well, may I be happy. Also this kind of meta meditation of like wishing other people well, being thankful for or grateful for things in your life. All of these things can really have an impact. I didn't put like the highest number here, but I do think that, especially with you're kind of like programming your mind with this stuff, so it definitely helps. Okay, last but not least is the category of drugs, like just psychedelics though, even though MDMA and ketamine are technically not psychedelics, they just have psychedelic qualities, I would say. But these all have definitely, like also before the sickness, but all have a huge impact on my life. Ketamine definitely being the highest one. So I did ketamine before I did the ketamine therapy, which in a way is quite different. I see them as two different things, even though they're technically the same substance. And I also still do it once in a while. Like they've helped so much, especially ketamine. It's crazy. This was also like a kind of, it's like an emergency thing, especially in the sickness. I just want to quickly say, I'm not telling anybody to take any of these drugs. I'm not recommending these. I'm just saying what helped me. It's very important to say here. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert. And these are still drugs, but for me, they're more like medicines. Anyways, this really, really like helped often with anxiety, depression, and pain. So when I was feeling really shit and down, I would take a bit of ketamine, and I just felt immediately better. I had this thing I was also talking about in my previous video where I just didn't hear properly for like 3 months or something. I took ketamine actually for the first time then, I think. And like it was gone. Like all my hearing issues were gone. It healed that immediately, and brain fog and stuff. It helps with so many things. It does have some small side effects, I would say, but like far outweighed by the positive things. There is the kind of catch that if you take this too much, it's really bad for your bladder, but I'm not taking it in that amounts or frequency, so I think I'm good. There's DMT, which is actually pretty much the strongest psychedelic out there, and I'm not taking it in those amounts, or haven't been, but it's also had a pretty big impact on my life. Actually, like a few times, it actually triggered like a long crying session, and again, it's kind of weird talking about this like on the internet, but It's true, and it's like I don't know, it's just so healing, and I just feel so much better. And like one of the side effects I put here is too much love. And, man, like it's just beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. I'm still like every time I do it, it's quite anxiety because anything can happen, sort of thing. But it's really just been a medicine for me. Weed, cannabis is a very big topic. I'm not gonna get deeply into. I would say this had a higher impact than five, but these are positive things, I put this on five because this certainly has had a positive impact on me, but I've also definitely had an addiction. I've actually just stopped now. I've had both very positive experiences. Has had a huge impact in many ways. Also, like it's been a great social thing, and that's definitely helped with pain and depression, and also like sleep, and it's helped with creativity and all this kind of stuff. But it's also caused a lot of these things. So often I felt really bad afterwards, really down, really heavy, confused, or just didn't want to do anything. So it's been a very like ambivalent kind of thing. Yeah, I've got to let that go. And then MDMA has definitely had a very positive effect on my life already quite a long time ago. It's really helped me with social anxiety, just seeing that I can be happy, that I can be very social and self-conscious in a good way, like confident, I mean, self-confident. It's really helped with kind of hope and also like actually relationship issues during my sickness. So it's a lot of this stuff. It's not something you should do regularly at all. And again, be careful, test your substances, do your research with all of this stuff. But for me, it's been very helpful. And then LSD and mushrooms have had a huge impact on my life, but not that big of an impact on the sickness. I would say it has helped, also having a bit of a different perspective on things, and you're feeling a bit more love for myself in this, or like self-compassion and stuff. Same with MDMA actually, but also mushrooms I took maybe twice or three times during my sickness in very low dosages, and that was actually really bad. And I'm very glad I took only very low dosages, because it was just, I felt really like, because sometimes like psychedelics, especially these, they actually amplify your state of being. So, or especially, I mean, your emotional, mental, and also physical state. So if you feel uncomfortable or disgusting in your body, that might be increased by these substances. So, but it might also really help with it. So it's really hard to say before. So I'm very like, sort of skeptical. And a lot of the times I was in such a bad state of mind that I was like, I don't want to be on anything. I just want to feel normal again. And, psychedelics don't help you feel normal. At least not during it, I guess. Yeah, so there's that. It's a lot of stuff, but really what it comes down to, I could probably leave all of it away except for, I mean, I would say the three most important things are ketamine, meditation, and Journalspeak, definitely. And then, I mean, low dose naltrexone as well, I guess. So these four things are most important. Both ketamine therapy and ketamine as a sort of street drug, I guess. Again, do your research. I'm not telling anybody to take anything, even low dose naltrexone, on all of this stuff. Like a lot of it is very experimental. I just tried out everything I could because I was desperate. I was really in a very, very, very bad state. So I'm incredibly grateful that I found this, and really like this is the most important thing. And again, I encourage everybody, not even the people that are just like, not even just the sick people. I encourage everybody to do this, because like I've never been happier than after like half a year of doing this. This is a wonderful, wonderful practice, and I will keep doing this always. Again, I put some resources here, and yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to write in the comments, write me directly. I'm very happy and open to talk about this. I mean, this is nothing to do with Touch Designer, even though in a way it sort of has something to do with Touch Designer. Because of this sickness, I haven't been able to work. I mean, obviously, if you see these symptoms, like, and one of the worst triggers has been the computer. But actually, again, this is not a physical thing. This is not like, oh, these radio waves or whatever the fuck. It's not about that. It's a mental thing. It's about my brain trying to kind of save me or protect me from all the emotions that I associate with work, coming a lot from school, but also like all the fears that I have around publishing stuff, around failing, around all these, it's a huge mixture of all kinds of emotions and feelings and thoughts and thought patterns I have about my work and about Touch Designer and about everything. So actually that's what it's about. And now through this Journalspeak practice, working on that, working through that, it has enabled me to come back to Touch Designer and to actually work and to feel creative again, inspired again. And because in that state I was not inspired, and even if I was, like, I couldn't really like sit on the computer for longer than 20 minutes without feeling completely shit afterwards. So actually, in a way, it's connected to Touch Designer, because now I really think I can come back. But it's like the last, like through this process, also in the last half a year, I would say I've been healing, but also, you know, having, you know, I was studying design, then I got straight into being a freelancer, but then also like really literally at the very end of like, or the transition from to study, like from university into being a freelancer, there was the pandemic, right? Like it started right immediately after that. And then after that, pretty much immediately I got sick. So I've actually never really experienced being a freelancer without a pandemic, without being sick. So I'm kind of in the process of actually rebuilding my life, or actually properly building my life. And then next to that, we also have this huge like co-working space, Pixel Forest project, and I went through several like breakups, not breakfasts, also I guess, breakups in the last years, and it's all been absolute craziness. And yeah, I don't know. I just want to share this, and I'm very curious to hear from other people. And there might be some backlash. There might be some people telling me that I'm full of shit because I'm talking about this mind body stuff. But I really, really don't care, because in the end, what's important for me is that I am healing, and that I found my way to deal with all kinds of shit in life, and to grow and to be happy in the end. I mean, it's a process, and it will keep being a process, and kind of a moving target, right? But yeah, now at least without chronic pain, I think. Thanks so much for watching this incredibly long video. Yeah, again, feel free to contact me about this if you have any further questions. There are some resources in the description, and I will see you soon at the next regular tutorial. Thank you.